she said.
That's right.
Oh, those never get old. All right. Well, we are finally back with Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt. With me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. And before we get too far, I've been really good on my workout plan and everything else. And I saved having my one beer that I'm allowing this week for today. And I have a lager from Westbrook Brewing Company. It's called a Very Fine Lager for very fine occasions. And this is a fine occasion.
You and I are like out of sync right now.
Oh, not again.
You have a beer, I don't, and vice versa. So we got to get in sync again.
Damn it. Sorry about that.
We're not coordinating on this. All right. I'm being good. I'm trying to be good. All right.
Nice. I'm for those that were asking the other day, I posted something in BBI, but I was exchanging messages with somebody else offline. Yeah, like so far as of this morning, I'm down 9.5 pounds so far. So still got a ways to go. 170 is a little ways away. We're a good 28 pounds away from that, but working on it every day. So there we go. Speaking of working on it, Eric, this has been a crazy. It's just, first off, it just feels different, right? It just feels different for this time. We've gone through change a lot the last X number of years. New coach 2 years, new coach 2 years. We got 4 years out of this last guy, but this just feels different.
It's monumentally different, and I hope everybody still realizes what a blessing this is, because again, the 2 months ago or whatever I started talking about this, I was saying they need to have somebody come in here and completely crush the structure of this organization, rebuild this. And I, as I said last time we were on, I thought that was a pipe dream. I didn't think anyone like Harbaugh would be coming in here.
Right.
And Kevin Abrams is gone. I mean, he's a lifer. He's untouchable. He's gone. I mean, he's out. And that's apparently this is just the beginning. I mean, this is gigantic what's going on. Ronnie Barnes is no longer the head trainer. I mean, this is stuff that I didn't even think was possible. And I hope everybody realizes this is the start of something really big. And this is just the beginning of it. And well, I'm sure we'll get into the specifics and all that. But the big picture is this is everything we wanted. And I can't believe it's actually really happening. Some of this is like pinch me at this time, because I can't believe some of this is happening. I never thought they'd get rid of Kevin Abrams. He's the salary cap guru. He was untouchable. Ronnie Barnes, we've been bitching about this for forever. And Ronnie Barnes has a great career. We should not minimize this, but he's been there since 76.
Right.
I mean, most of the people in chat probably weren't even alive. So I was 9 when he came on board. Jimmy Carter was president.
He predates the fumble.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Carter was president when he came. I mean, that's when he became an intern with the Giants. And he became head trainer in 80. They had on Wiki it says 81. I actually went into the Giants. The Wiki's wrong on Ronnie Barnes's stuff. They got the years wrong. But I went into the public the media guide, and he became the head trainer in 80. So I mean, we're talking Carter here. Anyway, so this is big. This is this whole. We'll get into the press conference. We'll get into them leaving, the coaching situation. But the big picture here is he comes in and it's already started. And there was a report from Ian O'Connor that as many as 20 people may be coming over from the Ravens to join the Giants. And not all of those are coaches. Those are going to be staffers and assistants and all that. So I don't know where you want to start.
Well, I was thinking the Kevin Abrams part. I mean, to me, and this is in case anybody doesn't understand, this is sarcasm. Is shocking. I mean, he is the cap guru, and I mean, if you could just say one thing the Giants have been spectacularly great at is the cap, right? So I'm like, shocking.
He was going to be the general manager of the Giants had Joe Judge not flamed out. Had Joe, remember, he was going to be Gettleman's replacement. He was pegged to be the general manager, not Joe Shane, until that all flamed out. Remember Joe Judge's spectacular flame out at the end, and that took down Abrams, who was the interim general manager. He was supposed to be the general manager of this team. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
no. That's exactly where I mean. It's it is something to see. And of course, there's the optics that I think the Giants are trying to minimize slightly. Oh, Barnes did not get replaced. He's still doing it,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay, great. Sure, sure. Kevin Abrams, John Harbaugh did not fire him. He didn't have to. He's like, I'm going to bring this guy over. I don't know what this guy's doing anyway. It doesn't really matter to me. This guy's coming over to do this. And they're like, hey, Kevin, we don't really have a job for you. They could have brought the two Bobs in from Office Space, have them sit down and go, what is it?
Yeah, I wanted to use that clip. And there's another clip my wife was suggesting. I said, we can't use that. I'll tell you that in a second.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So look, so back up here. Ian O'Connor is talking to two people. He admits this. So this isn't speculation. He's talking to Chris Mara. He's talking to John Harbaugh. And Connor Hughes came on with our show and said how spectacularly good that is and unbelievable for a reporter to be talking to both sides on this. So Ian O'Connor said today that John Harbaugh didn't have anything to do with Kevin Abrams being gone. Bullshit. Right. Bullshit. A few days after they hand him the keys to the kingdom, the salary cap guy is gone, and we're supposed to that was just coincidence. That was a Chris Mara thing. John Mara's still alive, mind you. He's still alive. It's not like Chris is completely running the show right now.
Right.
And I don't buy that at all. And if you listen to Chris Mara's comments after John Harbaugh spoke, he made it very, very clear that if it wasn't John Harbaugh, some of this stuff would not be going on. They would not be giving him the power that he's got. And the stuff in writing. He said that. He said it to the press. So I don't buy this. I think it's exactly what a poster on BBI said is they don't want John Harbaugh doesn't want to appear to be the guy responsible for all the bloodletting that's going to be going on here. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what's going on. Now, is it possible that coincidentally they were getting rid of Kevin Abrams? Maybe. I don't buy that at all. I don't know about you, John, but
I think I don't think you can even in a meandering sort of stream of consciousness kind of way draw a line that said here's where Kevin Abrams was going to be let go without a guy like Harbaugh. Even if it was a new coach that you're bringing in, some of the other guys, Mike McCarthy doesn't bring that kind of gravitas. Stefanski certainly does not bring that kind of gravitas. Any of the young guys coming in, they're not going to have the pull with the Maras to say, change everything. They're going to be like, you haven't even been a coach before. We're giving you your opportunity here. Settle down. So it takes a guy coming in. And the funny thing is too, is I still truly believe that John Mara's situation, I think opened him up to being, at the very least, I'm not going to be here a long time from now. And I need to right this ship. And maybe by doing that, I just have to let somebody else come in and do it, but I want it righted before I can't be part of it anymore. Right. And I think that's opened the door. And I think Chris Mara jumps in and assists with making that happen because his brother has now opened the door to be like, I'm willing to listen to these things. And I think that's where the opportunity popped in.
Yeah. And I want to, again, this is going to sound like bad mouthing Chris. It's not. But, I'm a big Civil War buff. Like,
indeed.
You remember Costanza said, I want to be a buff, how do you do that? One of the things with the Union generals after the war, their reputations got enhanced if they had very good relations with the press. So a lot of the very famous Union generals became known as great generals because they got good press and that story got out there. And some of the guys that should have been regarded as good generals didn't, because they didn't have the relationship with the press. Chris Mara, right now, his reputation is sky high. And one of the reasons is he's talking to Ian O'Connor, and Ian O'Connor is not going to burn Chris Mara. So you're going to hear a lot of great stuff about, or seems to suggest that Chris Mara is doing a lot of great stuff because Ian O'Connor is not going to blow up that source and has a good relationship with him. So again, everyone should keep that in the back of their mind. That doesn't mean Chris isn't doing good things, but just keep in mind that Chris is talking to Ian. They're kind of buddy right now, and Ian's not going to say something that's like, bad about Chris or suggest that there's something going on wrong, or Harbaugh for that matter. But the one thing I want to nip in the bud, which is really rearing its ugly head on BBI this week, and I think people can tell it's pissing me off to no end. None of this would be happening if it wasn't for John Harbaugh. There's this whole thing now, every like day now, I'm seeing a thread that says, well, maybe the Giants would have been doing this without Harbaugh, or maybe, no. This is why I can't believe Harbaugh's here, because none of this would be happening without Harbaugh. Harbaugh may fail here. I don't think he will, but Harbaugh may fail here, but none of this would be happening. None of it would be happening. It would still be the same shit that we've had all along if John Harbaugh is not here. So these threads about, well, Joe Shane, blah, 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 or Chris Mara, blah, 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 or John Mara, blah, blah, blah. No, this is all John Harbaugh. And this is why there was a delay.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yep.
Between when he agreed and the contract finally got signed, because now we know. And I said that on the site, and then right after, not that my comments spurred him, but Ian O'Connor and Connor Hughes and other people said the same thing right afterwards. Said, now we know what the delay was. It was getting this in writing, because there were some uncomfortable things, in which you and I talked about. We thought there are going to be some uncomfortable things coming down the pipe.
And there's a huge difference between we sit down and talk, and you're like, yeah, I'm all for that, and it being written here that says I can do what we just talked about.
Right.
You understand. And this is how this is. I don't think it was always, everybody wanted to point to, it was him signing off on that he's going to report to John Mara. He's not going to, or Chris or whoever. He's not going to report to Joe Shane. I think that was already decided. I think what you're seeing right now, and again, can't prove it, but proof seems to be a bit in the pudding right now. What they were really trying to hammer out was, I'm going to make some huge organizational changes, and I need you to be okay, but I need it written that you're okay, that I'm going to do this.
Right.
And we can handle the PR any way you want to about it, but these things are going to happen.
I do think the reporting thing was in there, though, because Chris Mara talked about it after the press conference. He said we wouldn't have done that if it was anybody else other than John. So I think that was part of it. But I agree with you. I think it's the bigger stuff was the stuff that we're seeing. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I woke up and found out Kevin Abrams was gone, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, that was
crap.
That was surprising.
So that again, and I've seen other people say Tim and Chris are going. Are they not? No, they're part of the family. So some of those guys aren't going anywhere. I mean, if they came out and took Tim McDonald's job away from him, that would be a like, whoa. I don't expect that,
but if some odd circumstance, all of a sudden he took a job with Notre Dame, which I have seen kind of thrown out there before, that would be pretty telling. That would be pretty telling that they were doing it.
Should we start with the press conference, or should we go chronologically, or how do we want to handle?
But yes, I do. But I want to finish one thing that you brought up. So, especially specifically about Ian O'Connor, he's talking to both sides, but you're getting other people, right? Other people are kind of, Connor Hughes posts things that he's kind of hearing things, but he's also posting things that Ian's heard, but he has his own stuff. Duggan gets a couple things here and there.
Gary Myers and Diana Rossini also seem to be plugged in.
What I thought was interesting was, as Kevin Abrams is now leaving, here comes our old buddy, Pat Leonard, jumps on X to go, the Giants are finally nailing down the leaky ship. They've been the leakiest organization in the last 10, 15, whatever years. And I'm thinking, that might be true. They might be. How the hell is it that you've never been able to get one goddamn thing from inside?
I saw you said that, or somebody else said
I posted it back. I'm like, how do you never got a thing? Like, you're the one guy who stirs shit, but you never go, I've been told. It's always just, you just taking whatever you saw and go, I'm going to go, here's my opinion. So if it's so leaky, why are you shutting down? But it's funny that we're calling it leaky now, because this is the most we ever heard of very specific things happening, like media guys knowing. Ian O'Connor knowing both what the Giants were doing and what the guy that they're talking to, the coach that they're interviewing, what he's doing. He was knowing both sides of those
Right.
things. That's never happened before. We
No, it's
didn't hear
not.
that stuff before.
No, it's not. And the only time that we were hearing juicy stuff was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when you had like Mike Garofalo, you had Young Music. I hope I'm pronouncing his name.
Oh,
correct.
wow. He was on the show back.
He was on the show, but you had people like with the New York Times, and you had Mike Garofalo, who was doing the Star Ledger. You had them actually giving us inside stuff. And there was another guy with the New York Times that was really good, that came over from baseball, and he was covering the Giants. He wrote these awesome articles, these insider. I can't remember his name, but that those days are long. Those days of journalism are long gone. And the Ian stuff this last month or 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I guess it hasn't been that long. We're talking 2 weeks. It's been like a blast from the past. It's almost like real journalism, and he's been talking. And the neat thing is he's made it clear who he's talking to, which is so we are getting both sides of it. And again, Connor Hughes was blown away by it, but that's what kind of like real journalism is. Anyways, it is neat. It's neat to hear both sides of what's going on. But it also puts to rest the endless debates and arguments we had on BBI forever that Chris Mara and Tim McDonald and other family members were having more influence than others were arguing. We now know
right.
that they were involved, and and the organization lied about it. And it's like I said today, John Harbaugh, and again, I love the guy, but he was lying during the press conference. And if they're telling people that Kevin Abrams, he had nothing to do with Kevin Abrams leaving, I think that's a lie too. People lie for good and with good intentions. Don't believe everything you're being told by everybody too. So some people are going to say, well, you say they're lying, Eric, when that doesn't fit your narrative. Maybe that's what I'm doing. I don't know. Everyone's subjective, but I don't buy Kevin Abrams is out of here because anyone but other than John Harbaugh saying he's not going to be our cap guy. I'm sorry. And I bet you somebody from the Ravens is going to come over and be the cap guy.
Well, the easiest way to, if you really want to stamp that down, if you're the Giants, then you just come out and say, John did not do that. We had already discussed this ahead of time. This is mine, John and Chris's call. We talked about it. It was time that we made some internal changes, and we're going to let John bring somebody over. That's how you could just end that right there. Right. But again, it's semantics. So if you wanna argue that you can't prove that, sure. But again, the Giants have been bad for a very long time. They've been bad at very specific things like the cap. And a guy who's been running the cap is still in his job, no matter what GM you have, no matter what coach you have, he's still doing it. So it seems weird that this new guy comes in and now you finally go, you know what?
I know.
We're not really good with the cap.
It doesn't pass the smell test. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't. He's there 25. He's been there 25 years. And just in the week that Harbaugh comes in, they just decide to get rid of. No, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that.
Literally like the day after is like, you're like, okay, he's in. All right, you're out of here. You're gone.
Yeah. All right.
So
if you want to, again, it doesn't, I guess in a way it doesn't really matter, as how a lot of people were saying they're just glad he's not here. Look, again, I don't want to sound mean. People are losing their jobs and we shouldn't be like giddy over this stuff. But look, the organization's been a joke for 15 years now, 15 years now. And the people that have been running the organization need to be held accountable for what they're doing. And again, we've all spent time, money, mental health on this team, whatever you want to call it. Fix it. And then finally they look like they're trying to actually really fix it. So
and a couple things too. Coaching wise and otherwise, you do feel bad for coaches and whatever. Their contracts are different than the players. Whatever they signed for, those guys are so. That's why they get. So there was a lot of questions on BBI. Why did they have to interview Taggart with the Ravens, even though it was a position he probably wasn't going to get, so that he might come in at a lesser position? Why did they have to interview him? You already know him.
Yeah.
Well, one, you have to have permission from the Ravens to even talk to him. The Ravens still have his contract, regardless of whether they're going to keep him or not. Until they say you are no longer working for us, they have the contract. So you can't just go and say, I'm going to interview you unless it's for a position that's an improvement or an advancement of the position you're in already, but the other team can deny your request because they are paying that guy still. So that's why they had to do that. So for the guys like Kevin Abrams, whatever, I'm sure the Giants took care of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And again, some of this stuff with the coaches is the Rooney Rule. Again, it's the coordinators too. So they interviewed the Minnesota defensive passing coordinator,
passing game coordinator, yes,
coordinator, and they interviewed Taggart. And says somebody at BBI, when I hear Taggart, I think of Beverly Hills Cop. Taggart. Anyways, so
yeah, Rosewood.
Yeah, Rosewood. So let's go back and start with the press conference. The one thing I do want to get out of the way again that nobody's talking about. I can't believe this. This is going to sound mean too. I don't mean to sound mean, but it affects everything. John Mara looks terrible, and he did not speak. So again, they're hiding this, and the reporters are hiding it. It's almost like, there were 2 or 3 photos that they took. That was it. But no one was. The elephant in the room is John Mara looked terrible, and you and I were talking offline. Steroids, right?
100%, 100%. In my experience of what I know, with the treatments of chemo and other things that you're doing, they give you you get a bunch of other stuff, and steroids is one of them, and it tends to make you puffy, balloonish, depending on how it affects you. But I've seen it, and that is exactly what it looks like. To me, that's what it looks like.
It's very strange that someone this public it makes me sound like I'm being terrible. It makes me sound like I don't have any compassion for the man. I do, but it has to be recognized that he's not doing well. He didn't speak again, and that affects. Anyway, I want to say that, and this is going to make me sound awful, and I don't care in this instance. Joe Shane came out and gave an introduction, and I'm
glad you brought that up.
I sat down with my wife at lunch, because it was at lunch, so we had our lunch, and my wife sitting next to me, she says, "Pull it together." And I'm like, what is he's going to hyperventilate? I mean, I don't know what the hell that was. And I got in an argument with DJM on the site about him not being a good public speaker and all that stuff. I know he's not great in public. He's always been we've talked about it, but he's always been very confident, cocky guy. Right. And he wasn't at the earlier press conference in January. We talked about this. He was a mess. He looked like he wasn't prepared at all. Cy talked about that. Whoever prepped him for that. Again, we were talking about Pat Leonard. Pat Leonard ran circles around him. But all he had to do was come up on stage and go, "I want to thank ownership for their support in this process and everyone that helped us out, to get John Harbaugh. And I'd like to introduce John Harbaugh as the 21st coach in the New York Giants history." And he couldn't. I was like, oh my God, he's going to pass out. I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know if your take is the same as mine.
No, it's bizarre, because the difference between the press conference at the end of the season and the press conference at the end of the season, you walk out there, the second you're done doing your spiel and you open it to questions, you're going to get peppered. You know where it's coming from. You know how bad things have been. You know what you're going to hear. In this role, and just to be clear, now I don't mean in this, I have done things. I have been a ring announcer for fights where I've been in the ring. I've announced the fighters coming in. I've interviewed them afterwards. I've done things on local TV and whatever where we did fights. So I had to do that, and then I had to do the interviews. There's a difference when you just walk out there and all you got to do is say something that's really cool. It's fun. No one's going to ask me anything, and I get to walk right back off the stage. And correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's watching, I believe it was he named first the Maras, the Tishes, then the Koch family. It was after he finished naming them that all of a sudden it kind of went off the rails. It was like he was kind of almost stuttering. He was breathing heavy. He was like, and he seemed to lose focus of what he was saying. I'm like, either A, he forgot what he was going to say, or something kicked in. But it was odd. I was actually embarrassed. I was kind of like, oh, dude,
I was embarrassed.
I felt bad for him. I felt like you were in the 8th grade and you got to give a report and you were not prepared and you're standing there like, shit. He should have just imagined everybody in their underwear.
I was a hot mess when I had to do my first public speaking when I was in 6th grade. When I was in 6th grade, and it was a 6th grade graduation, and I thought I was going to be all cocky, and I went up there and looked out to the people, and I was like tongue tied and the whole thing. It's not easy, but he's been doing this for 4 years. He's being paid to do. It was weird because all he had to do, like you said, it was 40 seconds or whatever. All he had to do was come out and say, "Here's John Harbaugh."
John Harbaugh, take it away. You know what I mean? Take it away.
And I'm like, I was actually embarrassed. Anyway, shouldn't spend any more time.
But it was odd for a guy in his position. I'm sorry, it was odd for a guy in his position to be like that in a situation where no questions are going to be asked. There's no pressure on you. The only thing I will say is that was a pretty packed room for the first time. Giants usually have people. There was a lot of people. There were a lot of people.
Yeah, and there were players. The best, I think that, and we'll move on. Let's move on to the press conference. I thought the coolest thing about the press conference,
put the gummy kicked in.
I thought the coolest thing about the press conference was actually his interaction with the players. But before he came on, I don't know if everyone saw the clip, but there was he went and there were a number of Giants players that were there, including some free agents, which I thought was like Greg Van Roten was there.
Yep.
But I thought his interaction with them was cool, and they said that the people that were applauding in his speech were the players. It wasn't the other people in the room; it was the players in the back. So I thought that was cool. And I thought that it was cool with his interaction with his father being in the room.
Yeah.
And I thought it was also cool with his wife. You know, that's always cool when you see the family involved too. And I thought that was, but my reaction to the speech is had not it been Harbaugh, I would have said the speech doesn't matter because Joe Judge gave a fantastic introductory press conference when he became the head coach of the Giants. It was everybody on BBI was like, "Wow, Joe Judge is awesome. What a great introductory press conference. This is amazing." So I don't put a lot of stock in press conferences anymore. I just know it's John Harbaugh, so I'm just glad he's there. So nothing he really said stood out to me, other than the fact that he actually was pretty effusive in his praise for Joe Schoen. So I came out of that thinking Joe Schoen is playing nice right now, and Harbaugh's okay with Joe Schoen right now. That's the only thing that I can, because I thought if he didn't like Joe Schoen, he wouldn't have been so flowery repeatedly about Joe Schoen at that point. So,
I think you're right. I'll agree with that. But there was one other thing that stood out to me. The Giants have unfortunately, we've gotten very comfortable, used to expecting to see introductions of new coaches. So we've kind of gotten used to it.
We're good at analyzing it.
We're like, here we go. Oh, good. It's awesome. Never do they speak about winning from day one.
Yes.
That the expectation is to win. I expect it to be worse. We expect to be making playoffs. We expect to be competing for championships. That's what we expect to do. And to hear him say that, it's not just a guy who's saying it and then you're hoping everything based on what he said is what you can expect. You can look at his history to say he's saying what I've been, I plan on being here. And that, to me, that's something I think will resonate with the players. I think it'll resonate with somebody like a Jackson Dart who wants to win. He wants to win, wants to be part of winning. He's made that very clear. And to hear that kind of stuff, I thought that was pretty cool. The way he's no more of this bullshit if we're just looking to improve. We're going to just day by day, we want to get better. I mean, that's what losers say. Okay?
Right.
We're going to win.
That was a good point, John. And I should have picked up on that or mentioned that as well. That's an excellent point. He basically said, we're not rebuilding. And he told Ian O'Connor that before the press conference. He says, we're not rebuilding. I expect to win and compete, and I'm not afraid of the NFC East, and we expect to do well. And my dad's been looking at the Giants, and he likes how they come off the ball, even on the offensive line. And anyways, it was, and like you said, some of this is directed towards the players, and I think that's why the players were applauding in the back too. Is he's already getting them kind of fired up. So. I thought the press conference was good for what it was. Some people complained that Pat Hanlon cut it too short. I thought it was time to wrap it up myself. I thought, I'm always one of those guys that says, again, a Seinfeld reference, leave on a high note,
Yeah,
don't
right.
drag it out.
Leave them wanting more. Don't go.
More. Yeah.
Off
So
page
I
yet.
thought, and then I thought Chris Mara did very well afterwards, talking to the press. That's the most I've ever heard him speak. So I was fascinated in listening to him speak. Joe Shane calmed down and he addressed the press and he was fine. He was fine after that. By the way, I wanted to use a clip. I asked my wife, I said, is there any clip that shows that somebody's trying to speak and they just completely fall apart? And her recommendation was from Police Academy, the guy giving the speech when the hooker was.
Oh my God.
No, we can't use that.
But in all honesty, you absolutely blew a great opportunity. Anyway, moving on. That's pretty funny. I was trying to think of one. There's one, and I wish I could remember what it was from. The guy starts talking. He's just like, oh, because he can't remember what he's going to say. And God, I got to find that clip. That would have been perfect for that.
And it wasn't a speaking thing. Was the airplane scene when he's sweating, the sweat's pouring down. That. Anyway, that's been Joe Shane's thing. He's a heavy sweater when he's. Anyway, we'll get
off to the side. He's taking a drink and throwing it in his eye. That's when he developed his drinking problem. Yes, I love it.
All right.
So we jumping from the press conference, we were going to get caught up in the middle week. That's totally on my fault on that one. I just unfortunately should happen. Yeah, it should happen. But stuff has happened since then. So as we talked about, Abrams gone, Barnes gone, but the Giants staff,
Barnes is there.
Well, okay.
Right.
He's still there.
The medical. So his title was
assistant to the assistant regional manager,
vice president of medical services / head athletic trainer. And he's been the head athletic trainer in the New York Giants since 1980. Again, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan. That's how long this has been. So head trainer, not like mid trainer, like mid-level trainer, the head trainer since 1980. All right. So they took off the head trainer part, and now he's going to be the director of medical services. So to me, it sounds sort of like, again, they said it's not going to be one of these sort of glorified positions. And I still think he's going to have responsibility, but he's not going to be the head trainer on the team is very important. He's not going to be that guy. It's probably going to be a Raven. It sounds
he was there when the French soldier Liz Frank got hurt, and the Giants suffered a lot of Liz Frank since then.
Yes.
There's so many things with him, but okay, moving on them, the staff. All the rumors going back and forth, the Giants probably maybe keep one or two, but who knows? And the big thought it was going to be Brasillo probably was locked in. A lot of Giants fans were going to locked in on that one. We now know, or at least it sounds like, there's really only going to be two guys being kept, and one of them was pretty surprising to me in Tim Kelly. What thoughts on the guys that are going to stay?
I'm not going to reverse my position, which was, it's been fairly consistent, is I didn't care if anybody came back or not. It was going to be always John Harbaugh's call. Again, people are going to say, why are you deferring to John Harbaugh? And I've seen this, he's not infallible. Why, look, he's the guy now. And the one thing John Harbaugh has been a CEO. He's never been the offensive coordinator guy, the defensive coordinator guy. He was a special teams coach like Joe Judge. He was a special teams coach who for 18 years did a wonderful job of putting together staffs in Baltimore. And people came and went because they got promoted and went on to become head coaching jobs or went on to become coordinators on other teams. And he brought them in, brought new guys in, and Baltimore didn't skip a beat. And so I'm not going to question. I didn't question people. Joe Judge and McAdoo, not Pat McAdoo, Ben McAdoo, and all these other guys that we had. I didn't question when they hired these guys. I'm certainly not going to question when John Harbaugh hires somebody because he knows how to put a staff together. So I was always going to be okay if he got rid of everybody or if he kept some people. Right. That said, I don't know why, but Tim Kelly always came across well to me. And I liked the way the Giants ran the ball when he put the emphasis on the running the football when he became the offensive. What's interesting is the two guys they're keeping were the offensive and defensive coordinator under Kafka as interim coach. I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's because they're the best or he actually wants to have at least somebody on his staff that can give him the insights on everything moving forward. So he's got one on defense, one on offense that's been here and can communicate to the rest of the coaching staff now, the ins and outs of all the different players. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But a lot of people Giants fans were high on Charlie Bullen as defensive coordinator. I don't know why they were, other than the fact that he was slightly better than Shane Bowen, who was a disaster. But he's probably going to become the offensive outside linebackers coach again, I assume. And Tim Kelly, I assume, is going to revert. Though Tim Kelly's worn a number of hats. I wouldn't automatically assume he would be the tight ends coach. He could be another guy, but he might be the tight ends coach. So again, I'm not going to criticize these moves or go rah. I just support what he'll know. In my mind. So I don't know how you feel about it, but I kind of liked Tim Kelly. I didn't think I thought so. In a way, I'm kind of glad he's here, but
I don't really have an opinion on him. The Brasillo piece, I've always said, do I like him? Sure. I thought he did a good job. But if John Harbaugh says I want a different offensive line coach, okay. I mean, to me, I'm not like, you got to keep him. You can't say I want a coach and I don't want the Maras and whatever interfering with the coach. I want him to be able to do what he wants to do and whatever. And then you get the guy and go, well, I think we should keep that guy. That's the same crap that we had with the Saquon Barkley situation where we should have gotten rid of him. But a lot of fans were like, oh, you can't get rid of Barkley. You could at a time when you would have gotten something back for him because he walked away later. So in this case, if he was the guy Harbaugh wanted. Now, the other part of this is we have zero idea what conversation that John Harbaugh and Cameron Brasillo had together. For all we know, Brasillo might have just said, hey, you know what? I'm kind of thinking Brian Daboll's getting a job, and Brian is talking about bringing me on with him, and I'm thinking I want to go in that direction. We don't know that. We don't know that.
It's possible. I think what's more likely is going on is what Dan Duggan talked about today, is if Monken's coming here, it may not be Harbaugh in this situation. It may be Monken saying, I'm running the offense. So everyone understands John Harbaugh is not running the offense. He's not Brian. Every Giants coach we've had other than Joe Judge recently, going back to Christ, this includes Dan Reeves, Fossil, Coughlin, and then 3 of the 4 guys that have all been offensive guys, and they've had to focus on offense. That's not who John Harbaugh is. He's going to let his offensive coordinator run the offense. So if Monken's coming here, Monken might have been like, I want to bring in who's the guy in Baltimore? Is it Warhop?
It's like Warhop, I believe.
Warhop. Yeah. If he wants his guy, he's going to bring in his guy. And again, people, one of the things, again, the Giants' offensive line was so bad for so long, people got PTSD from that too. Carmen Brasillo comes in here and finally puts together a credible, decent offense. It wasn't great,
right?
It was decent, but we're acting like he's Moses walking on water now.
Right?
He did his job. The other guys that we had come in here didn't do their job. But let's not again. Brasillo did a good job, but let's not pretend he's like the Eagles. He's like the Eagles offensive line coach. He did a good job.
And something I posted on X to what you just said right there. I didn't post it to you, but I mean, what you just said, I agree. I think I did it on BBI. I agree. He did a good job, but the Giants spent a shit ton of money on a left guard, on a right tackle. You gave veteran money to bring another veteran back. I mean, it's not like he took a bunch of, a 6th round draft pick of an undrafted free agent or this and that. You've got a 1st round top 5 pick at left tackle. You then got a free agent, high priced left guard. You have a 2nd round center that you drafted who's been starting for you. You have a free agent veteran guard and a free agent veteran tackle. We've spent a lot of money. These guys should be at least decent. The only way they're not is if you have a shitty coach. So yes, I think he did.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
it's not me knocking. It's not me knocking Carmen. It's me basically saying he did his job. I mean, he did his job. You call again the subcontractor thing. You called the plumber. The plumber came over, fixed the pipe. He did his job. So again, we'll have to see how this all works out. But you want, and as Dan Duggan was talking about, you want the offensive coordinator to be comfortable with his staff. And so we'll see. We don't know if it's Monken. I'm just saying, I wonder if they know. I wonder if Monken is already sort of here. I guess the only job we have to worry about is Cleveland, right? Cleveland, he interviewed twice with Cleveland. Monken did.
Yeah, the little bit that I saw a little while ago was kind of really hinting that it seems more and more likely that he's coming to the Giants. But yes, there would be. I believe Cleveland is the other opportunity that's out there.
Root for Monken coming here because everything I've read has said he's a perfect fit for Jackson Dart. He's up tempo. He's basically going to run a style similar to Lane Kiffin's up tempo style, not exactly the same system, but that up tempo style. And he's really good with the run game, and he's really good with quarterbacks. So Monken's a perfect fit, and that's the guy who we want to come in here. I mean, I would be a little bit disappointed if Cleveland hires Monken. I have confidence Harbaugh will find somebody else, but I think that's the guy that and he's the guy. Remember, he's supposedly the reason Harbaugh is even available in the first place, right? Is because the ultimatum was Monken.
Jackson didn't want to work with
Lamar. Jackson did not want Monken there anymore. So again, thank you, Lamar Jackson, for all of this. He did us solid.
Real quick for Andy here. Thank you for that. So to answer your question, I think here's the weird sort of thing. You become the interim coach, and 100% just my opinion. You become the interim coach. You either get the job that you were the interim coach for, or you are leaving that organization. You generally don't get put back as an assistant somewhere on the same group for the same team that you were just running the team for the last half of the season. The new coach doesn't come in and go, hey, you were the coach for a little while. Let me make you an assistant. I think that Kafka thing was never going to work with Harbaugh. I think he could easily find his way with Daboll, but I don't know that he and Daboll are the best of buddies, though.
Remember, they wouldn't let him get away.
I know, and Eddie took his play calling away from him. But
it would be terrible. To support what John is saying, it would be terribly uncomfortable for all parties involved if Kafka was still with the Giants because he was the interim head coach. It's time, and that's why you don't, as John just said, that's why you don't see guys. And I'm sure somebody can come up with an example, but 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, somebody who in that situation, they're going to divorce because it's just better for everybody involved. So no, I don't expect Kafka to be, and I wouldn't want Kafka. I
don't either.
Again,
he's just as much important that losing as Daboll and those guys were.
One of my pet peeves with Giants fans right now is, again, pining for mediocrity. Kafka didn't do well here. He may do well someplace else. Kafka did not do well here. Right. Nobody associated with this team in the last 15, 14 years has done well. So stop. I don't want any of these people. I don't want anybody to any of them. And then, if he says Tim Kelly and Charlie Bullen can stay, as I said, I'll defer to him, but I don't want any of these people. Mike Kafka was here for 4 years on an offensive team that was putrid for 3 of those years. And, if you're going to argue that, is who's responsible? Is Jackson Dart responsible for Jackson Dart? Is Daboll responsible for Jackson Dart? Is Kafka? Is Shea Tierney? It's probably all of the above. So, and I would put more on Jackson Dart than any of them. And I don't think Kafka made Jackson Dart. I think he helped him, but I don't think he made Jackson Dart. That's my opinion.
I agree. Jackson Dart has innate ability at the quarterback position. The right coach can bring out a lot more of his top end skill set and reduce some of the sort of, I don't want to say sketchy, but the the risk pieces that he does sometimes. A good coach will shrink that part down and maximize the things that he really takes advantage of. And that's what makes a good player a great player. But Jackson Dart kind of came in and he immediately was playing well. You can say, did Daboll do that? Well, then why didn't Daboll do that with Daniel Jones? You had Daniel Jones. You got the most out of him in that first year, and then it went downhill from there. And not only did he regress, but your relationship with him went through the tank. I mean, if you didn't want him there, that's a whole different thing entirely. But you do. By the way, you do coach more than one player. And that was one of my biggest fears. And you know this, we talked about it. The second I said, if the Giants decide that they're probably going to let Daboll go at the end of the year, you got to fire him now. That relationship was a toxic borderline relationship in that all of Daboll's hopes, dreams, wishes of what could happen were tied to Jackson Dart. And I think he was willing to risk him to get there.
You were pounding the table way ahead of when it actually happened, and I actually believe Daboll got fired because of that. Because the Giants believed the same thing you did, that he was getting too close to Dart, and he was actually risking Dart too much because of that. And I think that's why that Daboll was let go before the end of the year. Or if it wasn't for that, he might have been here to the end of the year, then fired him. But I think they felt they were worried about the impact he was having on Dart on multiple fronts, the injuries plus what you were getting at, that they were getting too top.
Right.
So anyway, we shouldn't spend too much time, but I do think you were right about that. Is there any other coaching thing that we wanted to get into?
Well, there's the defensive coordinator piece has been bounced around quite a bit, right? There's different names. The Anthony Weaver's been mentioned. He was with Miami. I think he's interviewing in a couple other spots. He has options. Jim Leonard, who's the defensive back passing game defensive coordinator for Denver.
Right.
He seems to be, of course, Denver's still playing. So that's part of the problem. You can't name, you're not going to name the guy. They're still playing this week.
And he's got to get his assistant. That's what it sucks that we have to wait for Denver. And then the other thing too is, again, just like the offensive side, he's going to be in charge of the whole defense. He's got to bring in all his people. Weaver, I saw a panel and they just went on how high they were on Weaver. They talked me into Weaver because they were talking about how great he is. But Weaver, I guess, he's getting a second interview in Pittsburgh for head coach. So the fallback seems to be Orr, who was Baltimore's defensive coordinator.
There was some question of whether or not he and Harbaugh, at least some things I saw, again, don't know, some things I saw that they weren't on the same page. I will say he would be the last of my choices. But again, if Harbaugh wants him, go to it, dude. It's your team. You run it. I mean, I'm going to try. It's not that I think you can't make mistakes, but I'm not going to question what you're going to decide. I'm thrilled that they picked a guy who's going to make his decisions, because I assume if it fails, he'll find somebody else. But I don't think Orr is on the top of the list. Now, the one that got thrown out there, I don't know who the hell started it, but the Rex Ryan thing, that ain't happening.
No,
come on. Come on.
Can you imagine that? Look, Denver's losing this weekend, right?
Well, I mean, Jarrett Stidham is starting. You gotta assume gotta assume New England's going to the Super Bowl.
So we'll find out, I think, fairly quickly whether Leonard's coming here or not, and if that's who we've been waiting on. Of course, Weaver's out there again with flirting with Pittsburgh, and then we'll find out. I think Orr's the fallback. It would be because the other guys are, but it shows you that though the guys that Harbaugh wants, they're all being interviewed for head coaches. Monken, Weaver. Again, Leonard's still in the playoffs, but these are guys that other teams are think highly of as well too. And the only thing that makes me feel comfortable about this again is Harbaugh seems pretty confident they're not going to have problems putting together a good staff. He keeps saying people want to come here, so I'm just anxious. I want to get the staff settled. I'd feel better once we get all these guys, because there are all these vacancies out there, and all these other teams are going to start hiring coaches, assistant coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, position coaches. I want to get those guys before other teams get them.
What did
So
you? I know it's not related to the Giants, but it's just I find it very curious. What you think of Buffalo now interviewing Philip Rivers
that was
for
weird.
the head coach?
That's weird.
I mean, he goes from high school to I'm going to come out of retirement to try to get the Colts into the playoffs, which I think if I'm Riley Leonard and I'm the rookie quarterback that was there, and I've been there all training camp, and I've been there through the season, and Daniel Jones gets hurt, and Richardson can't play, and they think so little of me that they go get 45-year-old, 55 kids, Philip Rivers, and bring him in to play, and he can't throw more than 35 yards down the field. And that was your thought. So there, but now all of a sudden, because he came out of retirement, I mean, if he didn't come out of retirement, he's coaching high school. What NFL team's going, let's make a phone call to Phil
I don't
Rivers?
understand it. And it's not, and again, we're talking about Buffalo. Buffalo still has a window here of opportunity, which is rapidly closing. But why would you even risk that? That doesn't make any sense.
It fell apart fast. I have never seen a group throw one of their own players, who, by the way, is bad, but throw him under the bus so egregiously.
Wait.
The message you just sent to the locker room. So Keon Coleman, their wide receiver, as they're having so Brandon Beane is being pummeled like Joe Shane was being pummeled. Basically, if McDermott's getting fired, why are you getting a free pass? You didn't get some of the players, blah, blah, blah. The Beane starts to speak. The owner steps in and goes, well, hold up. Keon Coleman names him, was the coaching staff really pushed for him. They were the swaying factor. Sure, Brandon was okay with it, but the coaching staff got Keon, and that's really where the problem lied. I'm like, first off, you're being used as an example of a horrible pick, and you're still on the team, by the way. That would be like if the Giants, Joe Shane, just started really shitting on Deonte Banks. One, I would applaud it, but two, that's a ballsy move to do.
I missed all of that. Like I said, I've been so focused on the Giants, I have not been paying attention to much of what's going on in the league. So I missed that. What a weird situation going on.
Buffalo's gone from a team that had you thought maybe had a legitimate shot to go to the Super Bowl once guys like Burrow and Mahomes were not in the playoffs. All of a sudden, Allen's the guy, right? They get through Jacksonville, they go to Denver, and you just play kind of poorly. You turn the ball over a lot, but you're still in the game, but bad stuff happens. But you lose, and then you fire your coach.
Yeah.
And then it's like everything is breaking over there at this point, and they're about to get a brand new big ass stadium. So,
well, Brian Dable's interviewed for that job, so we'll find out what
that to me is. If ever there was a 1-for-1 match for a guy, though, that has a massively losing record, it would be Daboll to Buffalo. That connection with the singular quarterback of Allen is the thing that perpetuated his perception across the league that he is a great offensive coordinator.
There was a damning graphic. It might have been from Pat Leonard. If it wasn't from Pat Leonard, I apologize. But it was a listing of Brian Dable's stops, both college and
Bobby Skinner, I believe, put that out.
I mean, it was Bobby.
I think it was Bobby Skinner.
But it only showed the only places where his offenses excelled was the period where he was with Josh Allen.
Yes.
So like you and I have talked, where did this offensive guru thing come from? So, and again, it's like earlier when Kafka was mentioned, and people have talked about Kafka being a genius. I haven't seen the genius from when I watch other football teams and I see them doing these things, the Giants don't do those things. Brian Dable didn't do it. Kafka didn't do it. It wasn't just a talent thing. It was like you and I talked about it. Even with Jackson Dart, his offense seemed to be the best place seemed to be Jackson Dart improvising.
Yes.
When the play wouldn't work. So anyways,
so what are we looking for? Yeah, because I'm going to keep it. I know everybody's going to laugh, but we are going to keep it tight to 6 because I have my son is in from Maine, so we're going out to dinner and stuff. So I'm pretty happy about that. But
everyone wants to eat dinner. Yes.
So what are we looking for over the next few days? Because I don't think a lot of major things are going to happen, but it does seem like the Giants, they're still making some organizational pieces in other areas beyond just the coaching staff, right?
I think we're going to hear major stuff for the next few weeks, and some of it will happen after the draft too. But again, Ian O'Connor has said that this is just the start. So I think we're going to get, there'll be like minor things where we're like, oh, like when they released a few days ago that they said the defensive coaches aren't coming back, that we kind of all expected that. And doesn't that, but we will hear stuff like that. But then you might hear another Abrams like thing or another Ronnie Barnes type thing. And again, if they're bringing in all these other people from the Ravens, other people have to go. So I expect us to hear drip. It seems like we've been getting something every single day. Some of it's been bigger than others. Like today, it wasn't as big as it was yesterday. But we're still hearing stuff like today we found out Priscilla's not coming back. It's going to be stuff like that. And then we're going to start hearing who's going to be the offensive coordinator, who's going to be the defensive coordinator, who's going to be the special teams coordinator, who are the position coaches. But then it's going to be like, who's replacing Abrams as the salary cap guy? What are they going to do with the training staff? What are they going to do with all the support staff and things like that, things that they've talked about. They're going to revamp the locker room now. They're going to revamp the weight room now. They're going to do all this. So there's going to be changes that are going to become, and I think it's going to be very, very exciting, and it's going to be going on for a while. And my guess is, and it's what I've said for a while now, the changes that are going to be made in the scouting department are going to have to wait till after the draft, because they just do not want to terminate these people and have them spill the beans on who they've been scouting and so forth. That's the same with every team. That's why teams wait until after the draft and then they start getting rid of people. So this is going to be going on. And I assume we're going to still even hear it in like April, May, June, maybe most teams go on vacation in June, but we may hear stuff even really late, how they're going to redo everything. It sounds like
after the draft is more likely, where if he feels there's scout pieces he wants to bring, the scouts that are there will get after the draft. They're too deep in it now to make massive changes that way. I think it's important to note the Kevin Abrams piece. Besides the fact that he's just been there forever, it's his specific role as the guy overseeing the cap. The Giants have been bad with the cap. And coming into this offseason, they have some big question marks. What are you going to do with Kayvon Thibodeau? You picked up his fifth-year option, but what are you doing beyond that? He does count a lot against the cap. If the Giants are going to move him, this is the offseason that they would do it in. Or if you're going to give a contract, if you're going to extend him, I want a guy who knows how to make these contracts good for us in case I want to get out of it. Wan'Dale Robinson's another one. But the Giants have other numbers on their cap right now that they're going to have to move. They don't have enough space to go out, and I think they're going to be aggressive in free agency. I don't think they're going to get a ton of people, but I do think they're going to go after a couple of name guys that are really going to fit what Harbaugh wants to do. And so I think that's something to watch. And a really weird name, I'm just going to throw it out there out of nowhere, if he is available, keep an eye on Calais Campbell as a guy that they might bring in on the defensive line, depending on who the coordinator is, who's had ties to Harbaugh and the Ravens before. He's still around. He's very old, but he still plays. But sometimes you just want that George Martin leader guy in the locker room, but he's got to toe the line of your message. And I think Calais Campbell. So if he signs, you heard it from me first.
They are going to bring in people. I said this before, and I've seen other people say it since that have more gravitas than me. They are going to bring people into this locker room that may not be stars, but are directly connected to John Harbaugh and know how John Harbaugh wants things to be done. And those players are going to teach the other players how John Harbaugh wants to be done. So we're going to bring in people like you just said, Campbell, not just because of the way he plays, but because of the way he can tell everybody else, this is what we, and this is, again, this is the exciting part of this. I still think Giants fans don't realize how, they do, but they don't. They don't realize how screwed up this organization was for so long. And when you guys start to see how a well-run organization is, and some of you guys may be so young you don't even know what it looks like, it's going to be shocking to you. you're going to finally see how screwed up the Giants were, because the new people in here are going to show, you don't have to be a clusterfuck of an organization and everything you do on the field looks ridiculous. You're going to see, again, it's expected that your offensive line performs at a decent level. It shouldn't be like, wow, that's like,
right.
Everything. Your defense should be, with the talent we have, should be at top 12 unit. It should start getting people off the field and creating what did we have last year? 8 turnovers? Stuff like that. I mean, I still don't think Giants fans realize what a sea change this is going to be. And it won't happen overnight, but it's going to happen faster than many of us originally believed, because we didn't think Harbaugh was going to come in here. But we're going to start seeing things that we didn't think the Giants are going to compete for the NFC East next year. They're going to compete. And then Harbaugh, I think, has made that clear. I don't think he's thinking wild card. I think he's thinking about the division. I think the Giants are going to I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl, but the Giants are going to compete for the NFC East next year. And with almost the same roster that they have now. What I think is going to be interesting, you were talking about some of the players in the cap stuff. What do they do with like Darius Slayton? To me, that's the interesting thing. Darius Slayton probably will cost. I haven't looked at it, but it's probably going to cost them more money to get rid of him.
To cut him, you would eat a ton of money. You get very little. But you could trade him, but who the hell is going to trade for him?
But they may want to just say, you know what? Harbaugh might just say, I just don't want a wide receiver who can't catch the football. He just may, that's the interesting stuff to me. Harbaugh's out in the back room. He was speaking, and the guys were in the back, and he was saying, we can win with these guys. We all know there are guys on this team John Harbaugh is going to get rid of.
Sure.
So again, that's part of the lying. Not everybody's coming back.
Yeah, one of those guys in that group was James Hudson. I'm pretty positive you're not going to be on the team.
Yeah, I mean, so it's stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to be kind of fascinated is, when do they start trimming the fat? When do they start saying, you know what? And Deonte Banks is an interesting one. Does he feel, well, it's going to be his defensive coordinator too. Do they feel they can get to him? Or are they going to just take one look at him and say, we're not wasting our time on this?
There was something said in the press conference by John Harbaugh that I felt was maybe not intentionally, but it was 100% applicable to Deonte Banks. He said, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember it word for word, we're going to be a defense. I got to see guys. I want to see them. You might not make the play, but you're going to run to the ball, and you're going to go there to get. You're not waiting around. You're not looking to see if someone else got it. You're not jogging next to him. And I'm thinking, holy shit, he's seen video of Deonte Banks play defense. That told you all you needed to know. Deonte Banks may be on the Giants team as a kick returner. I don't think you see him as a defender.
Well, that's the stuff I'm going to be interested in too. So beyond all the redoing the entire, front office, the coaching staff, I'm really interested in the coaching staff. I'm interested in, when do they start messing with the roster? When do they start saying, we don't even want this guy here? And the other thing too, John, he kept talking about, and this is just shoot the straight into my veins. He keeps talking about how he understands that in order to win football, you've got to be more physical,
right,
bigger and stronger than the other team. And that's what football is. And the Giants got away from that 15 years ago, and that's why they're where they are at. And John Harbaugh keeps saying, we're going to beat the snot. He said it at one point, we're going to pummel people into submission. You were talking about earlier, he was talking about, we're going to win now. You were saying he's not, and that was a great point. But he's also saying, we're going to beat the snot out of people. When's the last time we heard any Giants coach
talk tough,
we're
man,
going to beat the snot out of everybody else? Pump that straight into my veins. That's what I want.
No more. We're gonna get the Duke. Remember that? We're gonna get the Duke. No more of that bullshit about we had a great week of practice. I'll tell you this. I would have had heart palpitations I would have been like, oh my God, we just made the biggest mistake ever. If John Harbaugh got on the stage wearing a suit coat that was 4 times too big for him, I would have had flashbacks to Ben McAdoo. I can't get that out of my mind. That dude, I don't know what the hell happened there in that thing. That jacket was so big. It literally looked like he was in the movie Big, but he was the 13-year-old wearing his dad's jacket. It was embarrassing. But John Harbaugh, what he said, what he meant, it's done from a situation or a history of proven ability of things that have actually happened on the field. And I just think that how can you not be excited? Now, I know other people are saying it's just words, just words. I get that. But these are words from a guy that, let's just put it this way, he's not thrilled that the Giants offered him a coaching job. Every other team that had a coaching opening probably was going, we would love to get that guy, but he's not interested in coming here. The Giants got the guy that was the best available candidate, period.
He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's already like 14th on the all-time with win list, and he's probably going to be here for at least. I think somebody said, I think it was Ian O'Connor, I think that he intends to coach another 8, 10 years. So he'll probably be the Giants head coach for the next decade, and he'll be way up in the win total. I mean, so again, it may not work out. I think it will. It's a blessing. I can't believe we got him. And I can't believe the changes are already occurring that are happening. And if this had been Stefanski, I would have been, oh, all right. But I also would have been like,
got him.
Here we, is this another, anyway, I think Stefanski will do fine too. But sure. This is just different level. This is next level stuff. And he's going to be a CEO. He's going to step back and he's going to run the team. He's going to run all of the team. And he's going to let his offensive coordinator do his thing. He's going to let his defensive coordinator do his thing. And before anybody out there goes, well, I don't like the sound of that. That's what he did in Baltimore for 18 years. And it worked out marvelously for them. And beyond that, every time they lost somebody, he was able to replace them, and they didn't miss a beat. Two different quarterbacks.
Parcells did that.
What?
I mean, Parcells did that. In reality, I mean, Bill Belichick ran the defense.
Yeah.
Parcells ran all of things. He had Ron Earhart was his offensive coordinator. They would be tough. He had Romeo Crennel was his defensive line coach, and sometimes they would. You remember that game against the Dolphins? He'd be like, "Rack, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
it's going to be 4th down." He had his guys, but he ran the whole thing. He made the decision to say, "We're going for it." That's the other thing to keep in mind too. We were somewhat gamblers under Daboll, but it seemed to be very emotionally driven on when we would do things and wouldn't do things, and the application of consistent thought of when you would do stuff never seemed to. I could never figure out why would he go for it there, but he didn't go for it here and did this and did that. John Harbaugh is going to go for it a lot. Look it up. He is a big time 4th down guy, but there are plans behind what they do. It's very systematic. I'm looking forward to a coach where I don't worry like, what the hell? Why did you just blow a timeout for a challenge you've already been told you can't challenge? That's really stupid. So
John Harbaugh has watched a ton of tape on the Giants already. We know his father has watched a ton of tape on it. His father sounds like his father was really even starting really early. And so I'm curious to see what his father, what is his father's name? It's
Jack, isn't it? Is it Jack Harbaugh?
Jack Harbaugh?
It's really John. I bet you it's John, and his nickname is Jack because my dad, I am Junior. My dad is John, but he goes by Jack. So
I'm curious to know what Dad's view of Deontay Banks is. Maybe that's where that's coming from too. So, but that's
next to his name, he had FA, free agent.
Free.
Jack, there it is. Send him on his way. Yeah. So that being
the Jack stuff with Jack was great, and I don't know if people saw clips afterwards of Jack talking to some people in the press, but that guy's a hoot.
He's pretty energetic for his age.
Yeah, for his age. And then when he was speaking, he's saying his dad. I was thinking, is Dad still alive? And all right. And now last thing on Harbaugh for me, anyone who saw that press conference who still has questions about him being too old, get the blank out of here.
Yeah.
That guy. Even my wife said, holy crap, that guy's 63 years old. I'm like, I know, tell me about it. He does not look 63.
No,
He doesn't act 63. I saw a video of him working out at the Ravens team facility. He works out at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he was doing these power squats. I'm like, oh my God, so anyone worried about him being too old, get out of here. He's not too old for this job. He'll be here for a while.
All right. So with that being said, you are right. I'm now 10 minutes past when I said, so we're going to wrap it up. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I can tell you that I've been exchanging messages with Cy. Cy's going to give us availability, hopefully for next week at some point, and we could talk to him. Our lads is going to be putting out their first mock draft of the season. So I thought that'd be a great time to get Cy on. He's really busy, but he said he thought it would be great. So he's going to get me that availability. I will reschedule Gary Myers. He was very gracious about setting up another time. So I appreciate that. And I'm working on some other stuff. We'll see. I'm not even going to say who it is, but I've made it through the first level of contact. So we shall see. But if I get that person, you will be thrilled. I can just say that. So let's just say you were already thrilled with him in the last few weeks, maybe even very recently. And if we could get him, it would be a huge coup for our show. So I'm looking forward to it.
Who the hell are you talking about?
I'm keeping it close to the chest on this one, because if it falls through, I'm going to cry. So with that being said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you again real soon.